So to start off, before you start on your oil change, one thing I do is I ride it around the block just about one time, get the engine oil nice and warm so it all comes out a little bit easier. And let it cool off just a little bit right when you get there. And just watch yourself when you're changing your oil, because when it comes down to the exhaust, all of it being right there, it gets pretty hot. It's basically a breakdown of what you're going to do when you change the oil on this. You're going to get underneath it. You're going to take off the oil filter. You're going to get the drain plug, the filter drain plug. Then you're also going to get the filter remover, the filter socket, which is the filters in there. You're going to remove these springs. You're going to remove this little nut. You're going to remove these stars to remove this black portion, and then you're going to slide this around because there's one on this back side, way on this side, that really can't be removed unless the muffler's off. And then moving around to the other side, you're gonna remove this one, and that's all it takes. So some of the tools that you'll need and use is going to be an oil filter wrench. In the link I provide below for the oil change kit, you can buy the Ducati oil change or oil filter that it just attaches onto like a 3/8 socket, which again, both work. I assume it's gonna be easier if you do not use this, but I used it and it was just fine if you happen to use it. Next thing I used was a 5mm hex 3/8 bit. That was for the oil drain bolt. Next one was a 6mm hex 3/8 adapter or 3/8 drive, and that was for the filter drain bolt. The next thing I used was a 14mm 1/2" drive for the, I'm gonna say it's a filter. It's on the inside filter, the cartridge filter that I used. I used a T25 star bit. I happen to use this little clip remover from Matco to take off the exhausts, the exhaust springs, but you could use many things, pry bar, but this I just happened to work out really well. Here's the part number on it. You don't need it, but it helps. I used a 3/8 socket drive set, and then also a 1/2" breaker bar. So the only thing not pictured here is I had a 3/8 to 1/2" adapter to be able to put this on that, just so I would have a little bit less torque when tightening, so I didn't over tighten it. All right, so one of the steps here is just to open up the oil cap, just break it so it can breathe, and then you're gonna come underneath. You're gonna break this bolt loose. This little guy is gonna be a 5mm, and that's what's gonna be used. So 5mm. Right underneath. A little bit of an angle here, but once that gets flowing, you're gonna inspect this, you're gonna wipe it down, and then you're gonna replace this little spacer there. It's a washer that comes with the kit. Again, once you wiped it off and get them out, take that old one off. We're gonna put this new one right on. Next tool we're gonna use is the standard oil filter wrench. You can buy the one from the website that I put in the link below for $10, and you can put it on your 3/8 socket wrench, and it helps out. But if you have one of these, it should work just as well. Get like this angle right here. And you're gonna rotate it gently and slowly, so it eventually comes right off. So as we see here, we have the drain bolt off as well as the oil filter off. And I'm just letting it sit here while it fills up. In the meantime, I've been standing up the bike, getting it flat to get as much oil as I can out as well. Just letting it drip. That's all you gotta do. So once it's dripping, you just screw this guy right back up. We're gonna tighten that up. And then we're gonna clean it up and wipe it down. For the oil filter here, I'm gonna take my finger here, take the old oil, just get it, a little tiny drip, and then I'm gonna just put it around the gasket here. Nice and light, and lubricate it. And then you're gonna take your oil filter, and then you're just gonna screw it right back on. Ooh, if I can get it. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna remove this bolt right here off on the muffler side, because we're gonna try and get into that big bolt back there. And you gotta remove the exhaust for that. You're also gonna remove these screws just so that bolt can come out. You also wanna remove this one on this side to make it a little bit more free. Then you're gonna remove these two springs carefully. Once the muffler is off, remember you had to remove this one screw over here and this one screw over here. Once you slide that off, there's a spring underneath here, relatively easy to take off. You're going to try and remove this section. All it just is a little bit of shimmy to get these out. The sizes for the side oil drain filter and the side oil drain plug is gonna be a 6 and a 14 millimeter. You're gonna plug that in right there. You also have another plug right underneath it as well. This guy is a little tough, but you're just gonna keep on doing it until he comes out. Break this guy loose. I got like a 1/2-inch breaker bar on it just to make sure. Didn't even take a lot of force. So we're gonna open this guy up. Right? And there's another socket we're gonna pull out as well. And then what you're gonna do is just keep twisting and turning gently until this comes out. Oh, don't let it go back in. That's exactly what I wanted to prevent. So just keep tugging it out. There you go. Now you got the filter. Basically with this filter, what you want to do is just clean it off. A lot of the forums and stuff say they use the old oil to clean it off. I just tried that, didn't work. Just clean it off with a towel gently. I assume you could probably get some brake clean and spray it down as well, but the thing is you don't want to rip any holes into the filter itself when you have like some shavings here or something like that. So that's why you got to be gentle with it. So just one tip right there, you don't want to damage this filter by pushing the old fragments or metal shavings into it. You want to pluck it out of it. And then you're going to want to just put her back in. And then you want to be gentle putting this back in. I'm talking hand, using your hand, right? It's plastic. Once it stops, you're going to give it a little bit of a snug with your socket wrench. But I recommend getting a 3/8 to 1/2-inch adapter to turn it by hand with a smaller wrench, not a breaker bar. See how it stopped right there with my hand? That's about it. So once you have a little bit of an adapter, just give it a nice snug turn and it's going to stop. Remember that it's plastic and it will break, so you want to be careful. And put the cover back on, and you're going to tighten this back as well. And now you're going to put this guy back and then just top it off.